Welcome to the Treasury Update podcast, presented by Strategic Treasurer, your source for interesting Treasury news, analysis, and insights in your car, at the gym, or wherever you decide to tune in.
Welcome to the Treasury Update podcast. This is Jeffery. I'm your host today. I'm joined with Alexandros Koliavras, who's the president of the Hellenic Association of Treasurers. Today's podcast episode is called Why Consider Greece for Finance Operations or a Shared Service Center. Alexandros, welcome to the Treasury Update podcast.
Hi, Craig. Thanks for having me.
Maybe to start this podcast, it would be good if you could introduce yourself, both your role as president of the Hellenic Association of Treasurers as well as your corporate role.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alexandros Koliavras. Just a little bit of background. I'm a Greek-Canadian. I have started my international journey from Greece, actually from Athens, 14 years ago. I completed my undergraduate studies in economics in the University of Athens, then moved to London for further studies, then to Rotterdam to pursue my postgraduate degree in financial economics, then moved to Amsterdam, where I remained 10 years, starting my career from the global headquarters of Philips International. I was always in Treasury. I have started my career right after the university as a Treasury analyst, first with cash management, bank account management tasks, corporate finance, dealing room, treasury control, and analysis, which was a little bit more the middle office of the Treasury. If you ask me, this is an essential function of the Treasury because you need to know end-to-end how the Treasury works to do it. 7 years ago, I moved to ING, first in the Netherlands. My team was called the Global Business Advice of Treasury. And then I moved to New York 3 years ago. I'm currently director in Treasury Finance and Finance Transformation at ING Americas. And outside of my work, I have the honor and the pleasure to be the president of the Hellenic Association of Treasurers. It is essentially the National Treasury Association of Greece. And at the same time, I'm the deputy chair of the European Association of Corporate Treasurers, which is the umbrella association of 23 associations of Europe.
So, Alexandros, the title of the episode is Why Consider Greece for Finance Operations or a Shared Service Center. It's like, what makes Greece a good place for a treasury center? What are the key components? That's not something that's come up a lot lately, right? There's been some of the traditional centers. We see some more outsourcing occurring in different parts of Eastern Europe. So what's good about Greece?
We see more and more companies globally introducing the concept of the stratops, right? The strategic operations, which is essentially a function bridging the gap between strategic departments, where these are corporate finance, risk management, and of course, on the other hand, we have the operations on the ground, payment factory, cash management, in-house bank. Now, the stratops role would be more product control, treasury finance, finance transformation departments. Now, we see in the US and in Europe that more companies are focusing on introducing two things. More introducing the increased demand for more resources reallocated to strategy, to middle office roles, where the respective teams could pick up market indicators and can make a link to the balance sheet, right? And interpret market trends and eventually translate them to strategic actions towards the business to ensure increased profitability. And on the other hand, we see that everyone is looking for optimizing the cost base, right? Which can be done by leveraging on the presence of locations globally that can accommodate these increased business needs for optimizing the cost base. And of course, Greece comes into play. I don't want to say that Greece is the perfect location because of course I'm biased, right? I'm Greek, but I wouldn't lie to say that a big majority of the business world hasn't fully recognized the significant competitiveness of the country and in that respect. And of course, it lies on the 5 whys, right? You have labor force, competitive labor force, high qualified. Just to mention that every year in the country, Greece has 10 million, which is similar as Michigan. It's generating 17,000 graduates in finance, economics, international business, and other physical science. This is a significant amount of pool of candidates for your business that you can connect. And of course, the lower attrition levels in comparison with other European counterparts. The cost is the second why, competitive real estate cost in comparison to the rest of Europe, with property prices almost half of what it is in London, the Netherlands, Paris and Madrid. Taxes is a very important aspect. Of course, during the financial crisis, Greece has lost a thick layer of the young professionals towards the Western Europe. Starting from 2021, the Greek government introduced the new tax ruling, which is essentially 50% tax break for 7 years for everyone who's relocating, any professional that's relocating and wants to start its own business, or it's creating a new employment position, which in my opinion is an amazing legislation. We see that paying off, and for recently relocated Greeks that they moved back to the country, but also from people from all over the place, right? You can be from all over the place and enjoy this new tax regime. The lifestyle, everyone knows the Mediterranean culture, right? The Mediterranean diet. You don't need to take diet pills. You can enjoy the Mediterranean cuisine and enjoy the theater, the ancient theater of Epidavros with English subtitles. And of course the city, right? The location. Athens, the capital city, is the main financial hub. We have an exquisite place in terms of work-life balance, entertainment. There are a lot of public infrastructure developments, for example, in transportation. There is a new line added on the grid by 2030 with 15 more stations. So it's the perfect environment, right? We'll recently open the gates to the Hellenic Metropolitan Park, which is about to become the biggest coastal park in Europe and will surpass the Hyde Park of London. So there are multiple factors. There are many more that I think I forgot, but it creates the feeling that it is very beneficial for a company to relocate operations potentially to Greece or start their own business, right?
You had mentioned about 17,000 grads in finance. Is that happening every year? There's 17,000?
Indeed. We have 7 universities in Athens, and we have 6 more in the periphery of the country.
Do you see a lot of companies adding treasury centers there or shared service centers currently? Is that growing? What's happening?
Well, we do see that in many other industries. So, for example, the pharmaceutical company Pfizer shared service center relocate to Thessaloniki. We have Imeris and Deloitte also in Thessaloniki. We do see a lot of inflows from companies that they want to relocate. JP Morgan was in Athens, 1,500 positions. They open. So we do see a trend. Of course, we want to promote that, right? Because not all the major companies, they know that. And yeah, we're very excited for what's coming ahead.
You had mentioned the cost, the affordability of both property and the labor force, a bit of an arbitrage, if you will, right? A skilled workforce at an affordable price, and property is low cost. So is the property cost more effective for companies who want to set up a center, or is it also for the people that'll be working there?
It's a mixed bag, right? It's for everyone, because if you compare in real terms what you're spending to buy a property in Amsterdam, in London, and I don't even want to mention New York, and what you need to pay to buy a property in Greece, it's a major counts as a major asset on your asset portfolio. The government had, up until I believe 2 years ago, the golden visa. I believe all the countries of the Mediterranean they had that. Quite recently that was lifted, so from the 250,000 now I believe it's around 700,000, 800,000 to get a golden visa. But then again, the price per square meter or the price per square foot that you pay, it's more competitive than other locations. So definitely it's an added value for the business.
I'm very familiar with places, shared service centers located in Ireland or Singapore. And as we talked about earlier, there's a number of other Eastern European locations that are becoming popular for companies to hire a certain number of people there. Do you see Greece as just being added to that group or fitting somewhere in between with the educated workforce? How would you classify Greece?
Absolutely. I mean, of course, as you mentioned, Craig, we see that traditionally operations were moving from Western Europe to Eastern Europe, right? To Poland, Romania, Czech Republic, of course, also to Ireland, to Singapore. And because of the rise of the inflation and the scarcity of the human capital in these locations, and of course the geopolitical changes, right, especially in the eastern part of Europe, the cost has been skyrocketed. So the companies, they are actively searching to find new locations to open the shared service centers for their companies. And we believe that Greece makes an ideal case for a company to add the location to their operating mix.
You had talked about tax. You mentioned 7 years. That was for professionals, or is it also for businesses that are locating to Greece?
Right. This is the income tax for professionals.
Are there any incentives for companies to relocate there from a tax perspective, or is it just mainly the affordability of a skilled labor force?
The Greek government quite recently started introducing incentives around the dividend payments and the tax on dividend. And there are, of course, different schemes for education through companies that you have a tax deductibility on those. And of course, they create the environment to attract more businesses. I think it's a very progressive government that's very open to, new ideas and everything that can incentivize the companies to come to the country.
So are you going to go back to Greece and get 7 years of no taxes?
Who knows? Who knows? You never know. But although from the association, I must admit, we do see quite a lot of colleagues that they are actually moving back to the country.
So for the Hellenic Association of Treasurers, can you describe what the purpose is? Generally, right? It's a countrywide association of treasurers, but maybe go into a little more depth.
Right. So the association was formed 4 years ago, and it serves the 3 pillars. So you have to be either a treasurer working in Greece, a Greek treasurer working in any international company outside of the country, because of course we want to connect with the Greek diaspora that we have everywhere in the world to exchange the know-how and elevate a little bit the knowledge that the country has around the treasury and finance profession. And the third pillar is for everyone who wants to invest to the country, either in the forms of investing in the association itself or starting its own shared service center or its own company in the country. We have currently 6 working groups. We have the cash management, the treasury tech, the corporate finance and risk management, the shipping treasury, the bank treasury, and the brain and business gain working group. The last one serves as the advocacy working group towards our European counterparts, towards the government when it comes to discussions on tax regulations and incentives. And of course, we are also doing physical and online events. The major physical event that we're doing is the summit, the International Treasury Summit that is done always in September in Athens. Last year we had 300 participants with 15 sponsors from all over the world. This year we also did, in 2024, we also did 2 events at the Greek Embassy in Brussels and the Greek Embassy in Copenhagen. The ambassadors there, they welcomed our initiative to promote the local market, the Greek market, towards international companies. It was a very successful event. Both of them, they were very successful events. And this year we want to invest more in the local market by doing more physical events within Greece. We want to start a Women in Treasury event, which of course will cover the D&I, but also content-specific topics, especially around the transfer pricing. The Young Treasury Leaders, the CFO Forum, we want to organize a Tech Day, and of course the Sustainability Day.
How many people are involved over the course of a year with HAT?
So we are operating for 4.5 years. We started with 75 members the first year, 120 the second year. The third year we had 220, and then currently we are having 350. We do see always, we put the target always high, but we're always managed to achieve the target. And we do see that all the major companies in Greece, they're embracing that because there was no a solid finance and treasury community before in the country. So there is a way to not only socialize, but also to discuss day-to-day problems, to connect and to exchange knowledge also, to educate the younger generation, because this is quite a cornerstone of our community. We care a lot about passing the knowledge to the younger generation. And of course, create a community where everyone can have a safe space, but also discuss the issues and elevate the value of the treasurer inside their companies towards the senior management, towards the C-suite, towards the business, of course, right? The treasurer is always balancing between the senior management and the business, and that is very important. And that is what we are exactly addressing within the association.
You talked about these working groups, and you mentioned a particular use case for the outcome is to advise the government. Is there also an educational aspect to those groups, or is that just a broader group? Or
so we are collaborating with Greek universities. We did one collaboration last year with the University of Athens. We did 3 sessions online. And because it's not only for our members, right? We are serving a higher cause. It's more to educate also, as I mentioned before, the students. So we joined sessions with the University of Athens. We had some board members joining at the University of Piraeus. We did also an intro in the blockchain and digital assets with the University of Padion. So we're very close to the academia of the country. And of course, we try to pull together all the productive forces that they can actually help us achieve our goals.
So if someone wants to learn more about it, either they're looking at investing in Greece, or they're a part of the diaspora, they're distributed Greek person, or they're a Greek treasurer, how can people find out and learn more?
They can visit our website, www.treasury.gr, which is the 2 first letters for Greece. We also have there on the website, you can find information about the membership structure, what the working groups are doing, and see some pictures from past events and past sessions. We have a YouTube channel. You can visit the Hellenic Association of Treasurers. Our annual summit is always broadcasted live all across the globe. We are doing that for 3 years now. We are of the opinion that every event that contains knowledge around finance and treasury needs to be democratized, right? I mean, it's not only if you are in Greece or in Athens at that point, but everywhere in the Balkans even, because of course we have a lot of members from Albania, Bulgaria, and other locations, Cyprus of course, because our association is covering Greece and Cyprus officially. You can go to YouTube, you can watch all the previous sessions from the summit, but also outside of the summit. And we also have the educational events, the open treasury events. You can also watch them from YouTube. And once you become a member, you can join our closed LinkedIn group, which is only for our members. We're uploading almost every 2 days new job openings that they're happening in Athens. So it's very exclusive channel of how you can connect with other treasurers and find your first job or your next job.
We'll put that information in the show notes too, the treasury.gr and the YouTube channel. We'll load that in there. Any final thoughts?
Thank you very much for the session. It was really encouraging to see participants outside of our country, right? From the US, from Europe, interested quite a lot for what the country has to offer, especially our profession, because the treasury profession is quite new in Greece. It was in the past more the accounting functions, or it was the role more concentrated around the CFO. I think now we're managing to democratize. We see a lot of companies transforming the roles, the accounting roles into the treasury. I think this is something that we should be very proud of. And we are looking forward to welcome as many possible companies in Greece. Greg, thank you very much for the opportunity to talk about it.
Thank you so much, Alexandros.
You've reached the end of another episode of the Treasury Update podcast. Be sure to follow Strategic Treasurer on LinkedIn. Just search for Strategic Treasurer. This podcast is provided for informational purposes only, and statements made by Strategic Treasurer LLC on this podcast are not intended as legal, business, consulting, or tax advice. For more information, visit and bookmark strategictreasurer.com.